Hump Day! What's up, YTPC? Uncle Willie coming to you from the coop. Once again, beautiful day out, man. Little breezy, little overcast. I ain't checked the weather, but I'm gonna say it's probably 70s, upper 70s, maybe 80. I don't know, but it's nice. Little breeze. It's nice out here. I am smoking my Savinelli 614 brown rusticated camo. I think that's what just it says Camouflage. Camouflage 614. So it's sort of like I guess they consider this a smaller model of a Paul. Now, does that stand for Uncle Paul? Because I know OOM means uncle or uncle in different languages. So if it's a Paul shape, does that mean Uncle Paul? Was Uncle Willie smoking an Uncle Paul? Something to think about. Or not. In this 614, of whatever shape you want to call it, it's not quite a bent billiard the way it's shaped, so Paul it is. In this Paul is let me stir this up just a little bit. Some Sam Gall with Cob Plug. I haven't had this in a couple weeks. I think I had some 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it still is missing something. Now I've tried cutting this up different ways and trying it. I sent some out for samples. One person did a review on it and compared the two at the same time, which that was interesting. Somebody else said when they smoked it, it reminded them of English. And I was like, man, there's no Latakia Orientals in that. There's no way it could be like an English. And come find out it was because of what he had brushed his teeth with. Gave it offset the flavors, and it made him think it was getting something that he wasn't getting. It was on a clean palate without, or a dirty palate, because it didn't brush his teeth, whatever you want to call it, on a different palate. He got the flavors of what it should be, which is Virginia's and Tonka bean. It's a dark flake, dark strong tobacco with the Tonka bean addition. I think it reads something like that. But I'm going to say something that it makes sense to me, what I'm getting ready to say. Might not make sense to you, because it's hard to think through somebody else's brain or the lack thereof. So if you take a piece of plug tobacco and just imagine this being square, if square this way and this way instead of oval. So if you start out with this being square, It's got square corners on all four corners. If you take this being a square plug and by whatever length and slice it off this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, turning it into an oval or an octagon or hexagon or whatever, but it's not square anymore. You've just cut off all those edges. All those edges are sort of dry because they've been exposed to air, and they are getting dry time even in a jar compared to what's in the middle of that plug. That's the same way as if you slice meat off of one of those big round things that you get a gyro from, because when it rotisseries and they're slicing the outer edges as it's turning. And that's the same way if you slice your plug tobacco, you're slicing the edges off. Now with a piece of meat that you're slicing the edges off, the inside is still a lot more moist than the outside because it hasn't got to the flame yet. And when you slice it and it goes back around, the moisture that comes off of it is creating a crust, and it gets it doesn't let the moisture escape from the inside. Follow me? So if you were to take that same plug and instead of cutting the sides off of it, and you were just to cut it straight down, and say you cut 3 plugs and you went this way instead of slicing the edges, you take 3 slices, that third slice is going to be a lot more moist and a little more preparation involved because of it not being any air to that compared to the air of the outside flake. Follow me? Does it make sense? Like I said, if you think through my mind or my brain or the lack thereof, you would understand that you would think like that also. It might not be the way it is, but that just seems like the way a plug tobacco would work. But like I say, this was part of where I cut some up a while back. I cut a bunch of it up and rubbed it out really good and then put it in the jar so I would have it ready to smoke when I was, I never dried it out. I just prepped it and got it ready to smoke, ready to load. And if anybody else wanted to smoke some, they would take it and do whatever they want to do, dry it out or whatever. Still moist because I just cut it up, put it back in the jar with the rest of the plug. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But no matter what, the Cob Plug just seems like it's missing something, even though it's the exact same thing as the 1792 Flake. Still good, still damn good. How they used to say it, just a thought, not a sermon. But remember, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And with that being said, until next time, you know what to do. Stuff 'em and puff 'em.